Are the people in your life as next level as you'd like? Are they lifting you, or are they dragging you down? Are they feeding you, or are they bleeding you?
Build a community of people that are getting better by getting better yourself. Remember, phenomenal attracts phenomenal, and you can be better every single day.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, Next Level University live podcast episode in our private Facebook group. This is week number 67, How to Build a Next Level Community. So Alan and I were talking a little bit in the preamble about the importance of your community, right? We surround ourselves with people who want similar results to us. And I know a lot of people, we talked about lonely land last week, I believe. I know a lot of people are in lonely land because they haven't found the community that they really fit in yet. They haven't found the community that they feel like they belong. We want to help you figure out what that community is and how to get there. And that's what we will be focused on in this live podcast episode.
So the very first thing that we want to start with is something that we created called the 5 buckets. I remember we were in Arizona at a Brendan Burchard event. And after the event on the last day, we did a lot of podcasting there, but on the last day we went and saw a mentor of mine at the time. His name was Steve Ryder, and we did a podcast overlooking Scottsdale, Arizona. Near his infinity pool was this beautiful, beautiful view. And I remember we were talking about Brendan Burchard's 3 buckets. And the first 3 buckets were number 1, nostalgia bucket, number 2, the maintenance bucket, and then number 3, the growth bucket. And Steve Ryder basically said, I think you're missing a bucket. And I remember asking him, and he said, the wisdom bucket. People who are 10, 20, 30 years ahead of you, mentors, coaches. And then later on, we were on the plane. We actually almost missed the plane because we had filet mignon.
That was really good, but I was stressing hard about that.
And we're on the plane on the way home, and Kevin and I are talking about the buckets and unpacking all the stuff we learned on this trip. And he's like, I think there's another one, the mentee bucket. So for anyone out there, these are the 5 buckets, and this is how you build a next level community. So the first bucket is the nostalgia bucket. These are the people that you grew up around. This is your friends and family, high school friends, middle school friends, things like that. People within your town or your city or your geographic location. Number 2, the maintenance bucket. These are people, college, corporate. These are colleagues. These are people that as you've grown past your teens, you really have them in your life and you're kind of more congruent with them. You still have your nostalgia bucket too, but these are people who maybe aren't fully aligned, but they are pretty aligned, and they're most likely people that you work with pretty consistently. Third, you've got your mentee bucket. Now, the only difference between the maintenance bucket and the mentee bucket is that the mentees actually look to you for guidance. And so these can be your clients. These can be anyone that you help in a certain arena. This could be fitness. This could be personal development. This could be business. They are looking to you for guidance. Fourth bucket, the growth bucket. This is where your peak performance partners are. This is where your intimate partner should be. This is where Kevin and I are. So these are the people that you pitch and catch with. These are the people that are at your level or maybe a little above or a little below in whatever specific arena you're trying to get better in. And then fifth and last is the wisdom bucket. Now, this is the hardest one to fill. And again, shout out to Steve Ryder for coming up with this. Basically, what he said is these are 10, 20, 30 years ahead of you. These are your mentors. These are the people that have lived. They're on chapter 50 of the book that you're trying to write. Now, they're not writing the exact same book as you, of course, because you're unique. But they're, let's say, if we have a business that is well over 6 figures, they might have a multi-million-dollar business. So we can go learn from them. And so those are the 5 buckets that we wanted to basically illuminate for each of you before we jumped in.
So I was on a call with a client. Strong work.
Thank you, brother.
Done. I was on a call with a client the other day, and we were talking about the 5 buckets. That's something Alan and I take our clients through, because at the end of the day, when you start working with somebody, you are adding somebody to one of your buckets, right? So in this case, it would be the growth bucket or the wisdom/mentor bucket, depending on what the person wants. And I said, all right, let's go through. Like, where is your family? And she said, mostly nostalgia. I said, okay. Where is your partner? Sometimes growth, but a lot of the times maintenance. Okay. Where are your friends? Mostly nostalgia and maintenance. Okay. Is it clear to you now why you're getting the results that you're getting? Now, I know that probably sounds a little bit hardcore, but think of it this way. If you're hanging out with nostalgia people from your past, what are you talking about? You're most likely talking about your past, the way things used to be, the things you used to do. If you're hanging out with maintenance people, you're probably there just because you have to be, right? Like, If you're going to a wedding with a bunch of people that you don't talk to anymore, it's maintenance. You're not necessarily there to get better, and they're most likely not there to get better either. And again, it's nothing against them. What we're talking about here is elevating yourself. Now, when you start getting into mentee, into growth, into mentor, these people are talking about the future. They're talking about what they want 10 years from now, 5 years from now, what they want their future to look like. So imagine if your community, the people that you spend time with, the people that you talk to, talked way more about the future and way less about the past. Your friend group, the people that you spend time around, it's a good indication of where you're going to end up. And you really have to start stacking the right side. So if you picture, that's probably the opposite on here. So if you're watching me, imagine there's nostalgia and there's maintenance on this side. Mentee is in the middle. And then you have your growth and your mentor. You want it to go, it's opposite. So you want it to go like this. You want your growth and your mentor buckets to be heavier than the other ones. I think one of the keys to this that is not talked about enough is having humility. I can say with certainty, one of the reasons that I am where I am today versus where I was 5 years ago is because of this. I have way more people in my growth bucket than I do in the other ones and mentor, but I had to drop my ego and admit that I don't know certain things. So I find that when it comes to nostalgia and when it comes to maintenance, a lot of times these are the people who tell you that you should do something different, but they've never done it. Where your mentors in your growth bucket tell you to do something different because they've done it or they're doing it. So it's also important to understand that where you're taking advice from has to do with the 5 buckets also.
So I want to ask Kevin this question just to kind of drive this point home.
The answer is no.
The answer is no.
Yeah.
So basically, when we first met 5 years ago, well, not met, we've known each other since middle school, but when we first started working together, how many mentors did you have then versus now cumulatively?
0. I had 0 mentors in the beginning. You were my first mentor. So I'll chalk that on the wall, a little piece of duct tape with your name on it.
First?
Hey, Laz. You're my first mentor.
Cool.
Yeah. First one. Worst one.
I knew you were going to do that.
What did you say, cumulatively?
Cumulatively. Yeah, so like how many do you think, and you can just guess, you don't have to go through them, but like how many do you think you've had over the last 5 years?
I would say probably like 10. And that's not enough. Full disclosure, like that's not enough. One thing I will say is I'm lucky because I have always kept my circle pretty small. And luckily for me, the people in my life have kind of always been, like, shout out to Matt. I don't know if you're watching this, Matt, but Matt's one of my best friends, like my brother, my best friend, and he's always been into this. So he's elevated with me and we can learn from each other. He's in my growth bucket. So I'm very lucky because I have a small circle. So every mentor or growth person I get really, really elevates me. So I'm very grateful for that.
What was the hardest part about getting mentors for you?
Probably, this is something we're going to talk about, leveling up to the point where I felt like I could actually hang. You know, we're going to Colorado and we're going to be in a room of amazing people, potential mentors, and it's like I feel like I'm out of my league. More often than not, I feel like I'm out of my league. So that's a difficult part for sure.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, of course.
All right, so the first one was the 5 buckets. That's the kind of main framework. And then the next thing we want to talk about is called living in your truth. So imagine you're at a wedding and you're at a table of 12 and you start passionately talking about the latest personal development book that you absolutely love. So right now in book club, we're reading The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John C. Maxwell. And imagine everyone's there at a wedding and you just start passionately talking about this book. Now, basically, there's this principle that Kevin and I learned a long time ago that kind of goes along with the law of attraction, but it's called filters and magnets. When I start talking about that personal development book, some people are going to perk up and be interested and pumped if they're already into personal development or if they're intrigued. Other people are going to have a little bit of an aversion. So for the rest of that night, there might be someone who comes up to me and says, hey, I noticed earlier you were talking about personal development. I love John C. Maxwell too. And then maybe we'd start talking about all of the other books he's written. Everyone Communicates and Few Connect, or the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Again, that one thing of expressing and living in my truth earlier in the night now brought a conversation my way, aka the law of attraction. It magnetized another conversation later. And some people who maybe aren't into personal development maybe will avoid me. And that is what it is. That's the law of attraction and how it really works. When you live in your truth, and when you say things that are in alignment with your highest self and you do things in alignment with your highest self, you're going to attract the right people and you're going to repel others. And that is what it is. And just like the opposite, if you start talking about anything you're passionate about, if you start talking about tennis, other tennis players in the room are going to perk up and be excited, and they're going to come and find you and try to connect on that. So that's always happening. So that's the second principle. Again, this is how to build a next level community. Living in your truth is how you do that. And then the next thing is leveling up, which Kevin already talked about. But living in your truth is absolutely critical if you want to magnetize in the right people.
And it's also, if you want to, I don't want to say filter out the other people, because I know that sounds harsh to some people, but have the ability to filter out. So I was talking to somebody the other day, and they said, I don't know how to talk to my partner about the fears that I have, that I might outgrow them, or maybe our core values, our aspirations, and our beliefs aren't the same. And I said, well, this is what I can tell you. If you don't do it now, it's going to get to the point where the rubber band is going to snap, and we're going to talk about that later. But you have to do it at the beginning. So this is what I find a lot of people do. They claim that they want a next level community, and I've done this too. And they don't start talking their truth. They don't start living as the person that they want to be. And this is what happens. The expectations of the people around you don't change, right? So say I want to, getting in shape is one of the best ones. I come up to Alan and I say, hey man, I really want to get in shape. It's something I'm really focused on, and I know that I've put on some pounds, and I'm just not happy with the way I look. Awesome. Alan just talks about going out every night, drinking, eating McDonald's, and I do that with him. I'm not filtering him out. I have to be honest and say, Alan, I'd love to come with you, but I'm really sticking to my goals. It's really important to me that I get to the next level in fitness. I think this is something that people are afraid to do, and I think this is one of the reasons that they're not attracting the right people into their life. So Dave Meltzer talks about creating a void, right? So for Alan to attract Emilia, he had to be single. For me to attract Tarryn, I had to be single. We had to create a void where something better could fill it. Now, again, I'm not talking about anybody's intrinsic value. I'm sure the people in your life are amazing, and I don't want to talk down or talk badly about them. But if you want a next level community, you have to figure out what next level is, and you have to be honest. Like, are the people in your life as next level as you'd like? Are they lifting you, or are they dragging you down? Are they feeding you, or are they bleeding you? Another Dave Meltzer thing. You have to be really, really honest about it. And part of living in your truth is being truthful with yourself. Are these people, it's my favorite quote, are these people the best from my past or the best for my future? You got to be honest, because you cannot make decisions based on false data.
Imagine if when Kevin wanted to get in shape and I was wanting to go to McDonald's or whatever, imagine if I guilt-tripped him when he said he didn't want to go. That happens to all of us, whether it's you want to quit drinking or quit smoking or quit eating poorly. Do you have a community of people around you that support what you want, or do they have their own agenda? And so I wouldn't guilt Kevin if he said that he didn't want to. As a matter of fact, there are times when he really wants to dial in his diet and I don't, and we don't eat together. And then there's other times when we both do and we do eat together.
Alan eats all the studio snacks.
I mean, occasionally.
It's happened.
What are rice cakes?
We got rice cakes, peanut butter. We have some yogurt in there as well.
Yep.
A little almond milk for our coffee.
Here's another good example. So sometimes he'll be focused on spending less money, and I won't. And a lot of times we won't go to Dunkin's. He won't come to Dunkin's with me or whatever. That's the law of attraction working properly, because Kevin has the courage to say, honestly, I'm not going to do that right now because I just moved into a new apartment and my expenses went up. So how many of us out there have been in rooms where we felt peer pressure to be something different than what we are? When you're at that wedding, do you talk about your favorite book, or do you pretend to like what everyone else likes? When you get asked, and this is an interesting thing, when someone says, oh my God, try this is such a good dessert or such a good thing, and then you try it and they ask, do you like that? How many people have peer pressure of like, I want to say I like it, but I kind of don't? And a lot of times I'll say, maybe it'll grow on me. But that's the thing. Living in your truth is so critical so that the law of attraction can work for you, not against you.
Real quick.
Yeah, man.
Tarryn and I have a running joke of she'll try to feed me something, and I literally say, like, it's terrible. It's the worst thing I've ever had.
Really?
And then 2 weeks later, I'm like, this is honestly amazing. This is the best thing I've ever had. It's a running joke.
What's one thing that happened with?
What's one thing that's happened with? It's been so many. She has this yogurt snack. It's like yogurt and graham cracker at the bottom. And the first time I tried it, I was like, this is honestly terrible. And then it was like, this is probably the best thing I've ever had in my entire life. For 290 calories.
Worth it.
It better be. real quick. Also,
Yeah.
I'm not done yet. Real quick.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. One of the things that living in your truth, you're also going to attract people who want to live in their own truth. So there's two kinds of people who want feedback to improve, and then people who want feedback to get better, to feel better. Understand that if you are attracting people who tell the truth, it's going to help you level up. You either get the feedback along the way or you get it all at once. Make sure you have people in your life that you're getting feedback from that's valuable, that you know is coming from a place of betterment and not insecurity.
And I want to give a tangible example of that too. So let's say I were to ask Kevin for honest feedback, honest, sincere feedback about fitness. And you're going to be tempted to make a joke right now, but just hold on for a second. All right, so let's say I asked Kevin, like, sincerely, do you think that I've been getting in better shape lately?
Questionable.
See, it's so hard for him to tell the truth.
Oh, no.
No,
I was trying to give you the benefit of the doubt. No, I think you've come up.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, I think you've come up.
See, that feedback is useful, but he also knows that I actually want to know the answer to get better. Whereas someone else might ask, how does this shirt look? And they just want to feel good, so you'll just say, oh, it looks great, even if you don't actually think that. So you have to do your best to understand why someone's asking. Are they asking because they want to be better, or are they asking because they want to feel good and they want to connect? Those are two very different things. And one of the coolest parts about coaching, I believe, is people are actually paying for honest, sincere feedback. I did a lot of fitness coaching. When people would ask me questions like that, they wanted to know the truth. Like, am I actually doing well? And the other thing we had was numbers, so that the numbers never lie, and that's the cool thing about honest feedback if you really want it. All right, number 3. If you want to build a next level community, you have to level up personally. You don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. And so the best way I can describe this is an analogy of like being in an upscale neighborhood. So imagine you buy a home in a super upscale neighborhood and there's all $2 million homes, and you buy a $200,000 home. You're not going to fit in, but you're going to kind of know that, and you're going to feel the pressure of trying to level up your home. You're going to probably renovate the kitchen. You're probably going to landscape. You're probably going to redo the roof. You're going to work really hard to try to get the money to reinvest in your home so that you can fit in. It is a natural human need of belonging. And there's that old saying of keeping up with the Joneses. As soon as your neighbor gets a pool, you want to get a pool. The question is, are you leveraging that in your life? Meaning, if the 5 people that you spend the most time with are in great shape, of course you're going to be more motivated in fitness. If you have a fitness coach on top of the 5 people who are also in shape, of course you're going to be more motivated. And then on top of that, you're going to be able to talk to them about it. You're going to get unique tips and tricks. You're going to be able to be passionate with your colleagues and your friends about fitness. Whereas some people who maybe aren't on a fitness journey or maybe have some shame around fitness, understandable, they might not want to talk about it. They might avoid that topic, right? So there's a reason why upscale neighborhoods are rising together is because everybody inspires everybody else. And so the only question about your community is, are you in, that's a geographic community, but are you in an energetic community of people who are all aspiring to greater? And is it making you better? And a simple analogy for this is if you play sports with people who are better than you, you're naturally going to get better just to stay on the field. Versus if you play with a bunch of, maybe if you're 30 years old, you've been playing football your whole life, and you play with a bunch of kids, you're not necessarily going to get better because you don't have to. You've been playing a lot longer. So that's the key. Build a community of people that are getting better by getting better yourself. Remember, phenomenal attracts phenomenal, and you can be better every single day.
Hello, my name is Dr. Tarryn MacCarthy, and I'm host of the Business of Happiness podcast. When I met Kevin and Alan 2 years ago, I had no idea of how much impact they would have not only on the success for my business, but also on my life. They've given me enormous perspective and true strategies, true tactics to take in my everyday business plan and in my life plan to make an even greater success. Kevin and Alan, thank you so much. I couldn't even begin to express my gratitude for all you've done for me. And if you're looking for similar mentorship, I highly recommend these incredible experts at the Next Level University.
This is a hard truth that I don't know that people talk about enough, and you and I have talked about this a lot. The relationships you have in your life are because they give you a result that you want, most likely. So say you have a bunch of friends who like to party. It's probably because the result you want is enjoying partying. I know in my early 20s, I did a lot of partying, and the people that I hung out with liked to party. And then in my mid-20s, I was super, super into fitness, and that's when I attracted a lot of people that valued fitness into my life. So understand that the people that you have in your life are probably based on the result that you wanted to get with them. And again, I'm going to talk more about that as we go down. Okay, the biggest difference between Kevin today and Kevin on the very first episode of the Hyper Conscious podcast with one Alan Lazaros, I leveled up. What does that mean? I got better. I learned more. I tried to improve my habits. I tried to improve my communication, my patience, everything about me. If you want a next level community, you have to keep working on yourself, right? You're going to attract what you are, like Alan mentioned. This is something that I see pretty often is people want results that they haven't worked for yet. And it takes time, right? So as I mentioned earlier, Alan and I are going to Colorado. We're flying out tomorrow night, and Nick Cavuto invited us out there. That wouldn't have happened 670 whatever episodes ago because I wasn't that next level. And it's okay to say that. Like, I just wasn't. I hadn't read a book ever. I had never read a personal development, self-improvement book at that point in my life. Nobody's going to invite me out to their event. It just wouldn't be worth it. So if Nick Cavuto wants to inspire the world or help people, he sees that we can help him do that. So it's a mutual win-win. That's what relationships are. That's what friendships are. So if you want to build a next-level community, and I mean this with all the love, heart-driven, but no BS. If you want to build a next-level community, it starts with you. So make sure you are getting to the next level.
And if you also want to be in a next level community, join Next Level Nation.
Classic plug.
All right. So far, we have the 5 buckets. We have living in your truth. We have leveling up who you are. And then number 4, get out of your bubble. So I remember when I was 26 years old, I got in the car accident that many of you have heard me talk about. And after that, I really started to look in the hard mirrors of like, I haven't been taking care of my health. I really have let my health go. I've been drinking too much and too often, and I was 160 pounds, 6'2", very skinny fat. I didn't have a lot of muscle mass, blah, blah, blah. I went all in on a fitness journey after that. And I remember there was this one guy at my gym who was in unreasonable shape. He was in the best shape I'd ever seen anyone in person, and it was super inspiring to me, and it was basically something that I wanted to aspire to. And I remember how uncomfortable it was. Again, this is get out of your bubble, to go and talk to him. I ended up asking him a couple questions like, do you drink milk, yes or no, like dairy products, blah, blah, blah. I asked
What's
him,
your take on eating 12 Big Macs a day?
Yeah, what are your thoughts? But I asked him so many questions, I just picked his brain over and over again. Kid you not, and his name's Nate. He's still a dear friend to this day.
Jacked.
As a matter of fact, I have a call scheduled with him next week. He's in California. But that's neither here nor there. From that moment on, we became kind of inseparable. And we actually played basketball every single day, every evening, for 30 days straight. And then we talked about goals, we talked about dreams, we talked about fitness. And what was once really uncomfortable became comfortable over time. Someone who I was super intimidated by at first because he's 6'4", 220 pounds of muscle, now is a dear friend of mine that doesn't intimidate me. I shouldn't say not at all. He's still huge. But he doesn't intimidate me nearly as much. And actually, believe it or not, I ended up teaching him a lot about finance and entrepreneurship and business. He taught me a lot about fitness. I ended up a fitness coach, fitness model, fitness competitor, and he ended up actually going into entrepreneur land. And he actually went out to California, and now he's doing real estate out there in Newport Beach, California. And so that wouldn't have happened if I didn't get outside my bubble and have the courage to go and talk to him. Prior to the Hyperconscious podcast, I had a podcast called Conversations Change Lives.
A small one.
If you want to level, yeah, it was small. Well, my first guest was actually Kevin. So how to build a next level community, you have to get outside of your bubble. Every single one of you, just like me, lives in somewhat of an echo chamber of the persons, places, things, and ideas that we're comfortable with. You're going to have to get uncomfortable. Both Kevin and I are a little bit uncomfortable going to this Colorado event, and Kevin's going to talk a little bit more about that. But I know it's going to change our perspective. It's going to change our life. We're going to learn things we normally wouldn't learn. We're going to get outside our comfort zone. So you got to get outside your bubble, just like I did in fitness all those years ago. And fortunately, I'm in much better shape than I was prior to getting outside of that bubble.
And it's interesting because when you get outside one bubble, you have the opportunity to get into other ones. And it's this never-ending as your comfort zone expands, more things become possible. So like Alan said, like I've said probably 200 times already, we're going to Colorado tomorrow. But that almost didn't happen. If I didn't get out of my bubble, that probably wouldn't happen for Alan and I. So we were invited to speak at the Power of Mindset Summit, I believe it was. Shout out to Dr. Justin Mosley for having us. And he sent out an email that said, hey, tonight at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're doing a hot seat where we're going to do a Q&A and we're just going to talk about what we learned. And it's just an opportunity to meet everybody. And I was like, that sounds awesome. I'm not doing it. And I was like, I hope Alan doesn't see that email come through because I don't want to do it. I want to stay in my bubble today. And then Alan saw it and he's like, hey man, got to do it. Like there are going to be some people in that room. We got to do it. Now, to my dismay, we did it. And it ended up being really, really valuable. But we met Nick Cavuto. We saw Nick, and he was just super heart-driven and unreasonably knowledgeable and a great speaker and just seemed like a great dude. We ended up reaching out to him and saying, hey, we'd love to hop on a call, and now he's mentoring us every week. If I, specifically, because Alan was all for it, if I didn't get outside of my bubble for that, we wouldn't be going to this event because we wouldn't know Nick Cavuto. Now, I think a lot of people, and I was guilty of this too, a lot of people want to get seen without showing themselves. Like you want to attract people into your life, but you're not willing to do it. You're not willing to get out there. Maybe for you, getting outside of your bubble is joining a meetup on the Meetup app. I know things are opening up, so that's a good opportunity. Joining a Facebook group, right? This is an easy one. Posting to your social media. Maybe that's outside of your bubble. But if you want to build a community, people have to know what you're doing, right? So if you're somebody who is guilty of wanting to get seen without showing yourself, that's something to practice. I'm the same way. I am always terrified before we do things. I'm very terrified to go to Colorado. There's going to be a lot of people in this room that are way more successful than Alan and I, which is great. It's also very intimidating. But if I really want to build a next level community, like think of it this way. I am going to be the mentee for most of these people. Like I'm going to be in their mentee bucket. Unless they want to start a podcast, and then luckily Alan and I can be in their growth bucket. But that's a room that not only do I need to be in, but it's an opportunity for Alan and I really to meet a lot of people that can help us grow and hopefully vice versa.
The best way to explain this is the saying that most of us know, which is you can't grow in your comfort zone. You have to get outside your comfort zone. And networking, there's that saying of your net worth is your network, or your network is your net worth, rather. It's more than just that. It's more than just money. It's health, wealth, and love. It's life as well. I mean, something as simple as Emilia and I getting together, I've learned so much about relationships, and that's actually what this next one's going to be about. Okay, so again, the 5 buckets, living in your truth, leveling up yourself, get out of your bubble. Number 5, and last but not least, let the rubber band snap. So we saved the hardest one for last. Emilia and I just surpassed our 40th week of relationship talks, where we get on the phone with an individual. Thank you, brother.
You're welcome. That was a silent golf clap.
Appreciate
it. Interrupt you, but I just interrupted you, so it didn't really work.
That's the second time this week I've heard the golf clap thing, and it's interesting. That's
Sounds like it's a time for us to go to a golf event. What are your thoughts?
Maybe we will in Colorado. So anyways, we get on the phone with couples who are interested in growing. They want to grow together and not apart, and that's the first thing I'll talk about quickly. Kevin and I in this moment are either growing together as business partners or we are growing apart as business partners. And if I ever sensed that we were growing apart as business partners, it was time to have a conversation. We are in the studio together 3 times a week. Now it's actually 2 times a week. But that's when we would have those difficult conversations. Every single time it was tough, but we always ended up more connected after the fact. So I had a client early on who was with an intimate partner, and I'll keep this anonymous, of course, but basically she was growing and accelerating, and she was tracking her habits, and she was on fire, and she was killing it, and her partner wasn't. Her partner was sleeping in till 11 and playing video games all night and not really doing his schoolwork and really just not reading personal development books, not listening to podcasts, not really aspiring to much. And while this is a good person, genuinely, I'm not trying to be mean to this person, the truth of the matter is, the difficult truth, is that the rubber band was stretching between them. It was getting more and more tension because the person, my client at the time, wanted to grow this way, and this other person wasn't growing. And so eventually that rubber band was either going to snap or she was going to have to go back. And so I told her the difficult truth. I said, listen, like, it sounds to me like you can either have a tough conversation and hopefully he can catalyze some growth, and actually come with you on this aspirational journey, or you're going to have to let that rubber band snap. And so that's the last one here, which is basically this. If you're being held back by the lack of ambition or lack of aspiration or lack of personal development of those around you, I wish it wasn't this way, but it's so, so, so critical that you get in rooms with people who do aspire. If you have huge aspirations and the people around you do not, it is going to be unreasonably challenging for you to level up. And if you want to build a next level community, you might have to say no to some of the old communities that you used to spend your time in. And that's just the difficult truth.
One thing that we've talked about a lot recently, a lot of people say that they're afraid to lose love. I think people are just afraid to lose people, because a lot of the people that they're afraid to lose don't even show them love in the way that they like to receive it. I was on a call recently, a lot of clients getting shout outs today, so shout out to all the clients of NLU. We love you guys. I was on a call recently, and this person said, my family doesn't get me. They don't support me. They don't support who I am, who I want to be. And I said, honestly, I mean this with all the love in the world. If your family wasn't your family, you would have booted them a long time ago. Now, you don't have to, and again, on the phone with clients, I'm a little bit more hardcore. You don't have to boot your family, but I think we have to normalize letting go of people who do not serve us. Yes, they're blood. Yes, they raised us. Yes, that's amazing. And I'm grateful because my family is very supportive, so I'll put that out there. But are you willing to trade in your goals for your family? Like, sometimes it feels like that is the way. And I think that if we were to let the rubber band snap, we'd attract the right people in. If you let go of the decents, you would attract the people that you want. I've spoken a lot about the fact that before Tarryn, I had a situationship where it was like, yeah, it was pretty good. You know, I got to do what I wanted when I wanted. I didn't have to be anybody. I just kind of showed up and left as I wanted. But that was it. Like, it wasn't great. I had to let go of that. I had to let the rubber band snap. What I think a lot of people do is they say, you know what? I'm going to climb that mountain over there, and all these people behind me, I'm just going to put them on my back, and I'm going to bring them to the top. And I can tell you, not only is climbing the mountain yourself difficult, trying to climb it with other people is close to impossible. What if you climbed the mountain and then you showed people how amazing the view is, and then maybe they can climb the mountain on their own accord? I know this is the hardest one. I know this is a trigger warning. I know it's very difficult, but if you had to choose between your family and your goals, what would you choose? One of my favorite posts I've ever done is, if you have to choose between your partner and your goals, I mean, you shouldn't have to. Like, you just shouldn't have to. It's the same with your family. Unfortunately, for many people, it isn't that way. So normalize letting go of people, places, things, ideas, limiting beliefs, whatever it is, that aren't serving you. It's hard. It's hard. I don't have much else to say other than that. I know it's hard, but so isn't regretting not getting what you want. You know, and I know this doesn't land. Alan and I talked about this, but one of the things I've said on coaching calls, and this is hardcore, but if your family passed away tomorrow, would you go chase your goals? Or would you just live the rest of your life not doing it? I think you'd probably go chase your goals. And I know that's hardcore and an extreme example, but the odds are your family probably will pass away before you, and you might regret not doing it. I know that's hard, but sometimes I think that's what we need to hear.
So you've heard me talk often about the top 5 regrets of the dying. It's a book by Bronnie Ware. We actually interviewed her on the show a long time ago. We should have her back for sure.
I believe we have reached out, and she is going to come back on, I think, at some point.
When she publishes her book, right? I think.
Something like that.
The top 5 regrets of the dying, I'll keep this as short as possible, but it's so critical for this last one, letting the rubber band snap. So she worked in hospice for 8 years, which means that she worked with the terminally ill. And she noticed over and over and over again these same regrets. I wish, I wish, I wish. She thought that her job was to take care of them, wipe their backsides, that kind of stuff. She has an amazing TED Talk too, by the way, TEDx. But what her real job was to listen and to basically take these lessons of people who were terminally ill and then bring them to people who read her book. So there's 5, the top 5 regrets of the dying. The number 1 regret of the dying is I wish I had lived a life true to myself and not what others expected of me. And that's the hardest thing ever. You out there listening right now, you have core aspirations aka a different mountain to climb than everyone else. Not only in the analogy that Kevin said of like, hey, I'm going to go climb that mountain, I'm going to put everybody on my back. Not only is that too much weight to actually climb the mountain, but it's also, what if they're kicking and screaming the whole time saying, I don't want to climb this mountain with you. I want to stay where I am. This is a lesson that I've had to learn over and over and over again. My favorite part about coaching is that people don't pay for guidance they don't want. If you're out there right now and you want to maximize your potential, and you want to have a bigger impact, and you want to live more profitably, and you want to master your finances, and you want to master your fitness, and you want a next level community, and you want to level up your life, we are the people for you. That's why you're here right now. You want to get to the next level. There are people out there who don't. They avoid the next level. They're comfortable at the level they're at, and that's fine. But we are not the podcast for them. Maybe you're not the person for them. So you have to let that rubber band snap. There is no way. John Maxwell says this, so I'll just quote him. You have to give up to grow up. If you want to stay 15 years old, expect 15-year-old results. You're going to have to go from second grade to third grade to fourth grade to college, to all of that. And this is an analogy. You're going to have to say no to the old person's, places, things, and ideas if you want to say yes to your dreams. There's not a single person I know who's achieving their dreams and their own unique flavor of next level life who doesn't have some people in their life who are mad at them. I wish it wasn't that way. I have some people in my life who are mad that I'm not able to spend as much time as I used to. Kevin, same deal. There's certain people who literally have said, like, Kev, can you be the friend you used to be? And Kev said, no, I can't, because I don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the time. We have a next level team, 10 people, global. We're very blessed, and we have many, many clients. You only have so much time on this earth. You're going to have to spend it with the persons, places, things, and ideas that are aligned with your highest self if you want to pass on without regret. And again, that's from Bronnie Ware. That's from John Maxwell. It's not just Kevin and I saying this. This is the way that it is, and there is no way around it from my perspective.
Boom. If you are watching this live, just so you know, you can message Amy for a private question about how to get a next level community. If you are listening to this after the fact, make sure you join us live so you can ask questions. Amy, we are ready for questions if you are.
Right on the dot, 6:40.
That's how we do it.